So I'm really excited about today. We're going to talk about how
Yeah.
the mind uses the body as a storage device for trauma. And I've been wanting to do this for a long, long time, and I'm really excited about it. So we're going to kind of look at this in three parts. The first part is how trauma is stored. The second part is how trauma is restored or accessed. And the third is the healing.
Mm.
And what I find fascinating about this is I'm Dr. Mark Waller. I'm a marriage family therapist for 26 years. This is my partner, Christina Black, who is a
Hello.
massage and craniosacral therapist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Craniosacral therapy.
I come from the mind and she comes from the body. And
Mm-hmm.
if you hang on to the end, you're going to see how this all comes together in the healing aspect because we discovered something in talking about and setting this up that we kind of knew, but we didn't know, and all of a sudden it came together. So I'm really excited
Mm.
about it.
I'm excited too. We've been waiting a while to do an episode like this. We invite you to soar with us. We take our insights and share them with you so that you can be free of the patterns and habits that used to own you. You can own your
Awesome.
life.
Okay, so let's start with how trauma is stored. And I did a little research on this, and I know
Mm-hmm.
you've got tons of experience with this. And I have to admit, when it comes to this aspect, this is a weakness in my practice. And so,
Knowing how the physical reality is.
exactly, right,
Yeah, well, it's just like anything else. Once you learn it, you can start like adopting the information that matters to you.
great. All right, so now I want to break down this idea of trauma. Trauma, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, is a completely overused term these days.
Do you?
To me, I think trauma is something on the lines of being close to life-threatening event.
Oh, see, I think of it as anything that leaves fingerprints on you after you walk away.
I like that. That's what would call an abuse. And
Okay.
to me,
All
trauma
right.
is this. I'm not disagreeing with you, but this is an important discussion to have. To me,
Sure.
trauma is like a single event,
Okay.
and abuse is like a pattern,
Okay.
and stress is like a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, not all abuse is trauma.
Sure.
And if your mother asked you to take the garbage out when you were a child on a daily basis, that's probably not trauma. But to hear people talk, you'd think it was.
But maybe it would be if you just told her that you didn't like your life and that nothing brought you joy and that you wish something could bring you peace. And then she was like, "Oh, will you take the trash out?"
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe then that could be a trauma.
Now, one of the things I think that distinguishes along this continuum is the ability to remember. And so what I
Oh,
found
fair enough.
and see if you agree with this, but what I found is people have very much difficulty remembering trauma. They have
Say that
also,
say that one more time.
in other words, if there's anything we lack the ability to remember, oftentimes it's trauma.
Right. Like we're blocking it out ourselves,
That's
right?
right. And we're gonna talk about that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Abuse, I think, is a gray area
Mm-hmm.
and where it's not blocked out, but most of us have a very poor memory as to what happened to us. And we're talking about childhood things here.
Yeah. Right.
And
And you're
so,
probably not going to remember things before six anyway, right?
well, we don't even have autobiographical memory until we're about 2 or 3 years of age.
Ah.
So, yeah,
Huh.
every now and then in the last over 20 years, I've run into somebody who really has a memory. They can tell you everything, but,
Wow.
but most people have no chance. When it comes to stress, I think as stress patterns are easy to remember. But I think the interesting thing for our discussion is some of this overlaps, and some of the principles we're going to talk about apply to all kind of, and these are arbitrary, these three distinctions that I made here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what what do you, in your practice, in your working with people in their bodies, how much of what I just said rings true in your experience?
Like what part?
Well, in other words, the trauma being less easily remembered, abuse being kind of forgotten about, and stress being pretty easy to access.
Oh, I mean, yeah, when you have someone talking in a regular state, heck yeah. But when you get them on the table and you quiet their nervous system down, it's those things that come out.
Right.
It's
That's
those things the non-conscious are like, hey, this is number one priority for us today.
good. That's
Yeah.
the direction we're heading here.
Yeah.
And great. So either the problem is that we either don't remember the trauma or we're not able to associate with the experience anymore.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that.
So okay.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the work that I have to do like on myself is when like those things will come up in me, like those memories will come up in me, and that's when I make the association. And that's when I go, "Oh, what did this have to do with my childhood?" And that's when I sort things out. And even for me, I'm then supposed to, according to my neurotype, lay down with my knees bent and my hands on my stomach and not move and not think for 10 minutes so that my
Okay.
brain can like categorize
That's easy for
it.
me.
Well, you're not supposed to sleep either. That's the down there.
All right. So and some of this will come back to trauma in the body is stored not only as thoughts but as nervous system states, muscles tension, and implicit memory. And we're going to define implicit memory here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where the two of you and I diverge
Okay.
because I'm the thought guy.
Yeah.
But here we have trauma in the body is not stored as thoughts. So that's where body work has a special place here.
Mm-hmm.
So if, in other words, if I have somebody who's been traumatized and they don't have active thoughts about it, then I've got to go to somebody like you because it's been stored in the body somehow as
Right.
a state by the nervous system.
Yes. Right. Which
And
is why no matter how many times you get that knot rubbed out, it comes back tomorrow.
okay,
And it's because that's like the belief that you're holding about something is holding your back that way.
so until you get that resolved and recovered, that knot is going to keep coming back.
It's never going to stop. Everything your body does is for you.
Okay,
And with that logic, your body is protecting you from something or driving you towards something that it thinks you really, really want and is very important to you.
so it's very positive.
It's trying to be your best
Yes,
friend.
right.
Yeah.
So let's
Even
talk
though
about.
it sometimes gives you tough love.
Well, it's like I talk about emotions. I liken emotions to being a phone ringing.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing is true with the body. When you have muscle tension, it's a phone ringing. It's trying to get you to answer the call.
That's 100% correct. Yeah. And it will get louder the longer you ignore it.
Right, exactly. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So there's a part of you that will bring your life to a screeching halt
Mm-hmm.
until you shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wants to grab your face and talk to you in the eyes, looking you in the eyes.
So here's a little diagram here. I hope this is big enough if you're looking at a cell phone. And by the way, we're so glad you're here. We love these discussions. And if anything piques your interest, please drop us a comment below. So,
Mm-hmm.
in my view, the traumatic experience either goes into thinking memory, which is explicit, like facts and
Mm-hmm.
stories, I can remember when.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can be fuzzy or blocked, or it can be body memory, which is implicit. Feelings and
Mm-hmm.
habits, tension, flinches, fear without words stored in the body.
So is this
So
like right lobe?
I wouldn't look at it that way.
Oh, okay.
That I'm not saying it's not true, but But I think my speculation is if the traumatic experience activates the nervous system in a really, really threatening way, eventually there's like a circuit breaker.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, when that circuit breaker trips, there is no thinking memory. It's all body memory at that point. So the memory,
That's why when you go into fight or flight, it's like your body just knows what to do.
right. And so if you,
Interesting.
so I would say a traumatic experience that has been stored and expresses itself in the body is probably not accessible through the thinking, the conscious part of the mind.
Uh-huh.
Because the nervous system flipped that switch to protect you during
Right.
the experience.
Right.
And I guess that's why I'm saying I think, trauma has to reach that level, which means it's a very, very serious life threatening experience. But that's
Sure.
just that's just my view.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving right along. So memory is state dependent. So if I say here, memorize this number, you have to be in a state. The state you're in ties in
Mm-hmm.
with the memory so you can recall that.
Right.
So
Right.
this is true of the body. So the body is in a state when the memory is laid down. And so
Uh,
so so I'm speculating here that the state that the body's in is associated with the memory. So the certain position, a certain feeling. Here,
yeah.
before you struggle with this, let me give you an example to make it more clear.
Okay.
Okay, so here's a young man, and a car just went by, almost ran him off the road, and he ended up falling into a lilac bush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so fast forward years later, and has another encounter with a car where he gets in a minor accident or something like that. All of a sudden, he's in the same state he was in when this accident happened, and from that moment on, he has a violent allergy to lilacs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of a way that this allergy to lilacs is state dependent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's submerged somehow in the body and the mind, but when that event reoccurs, he goes into that state, the same state he was in when he crashed into the lilac bush, and now all of a sudden the smell of lilacs brings all that back, the trauma, and now he's got an allergy to lilacs.
Yeah. I've heard this happening with my friend who was eating a peanut butter sandwich and a semi almost swerved into her car,
Uh huh.
and the smell of peanut butter made her experience that trauma again, like in her mind each time she smelled
Right.
peanut butter. Yeah.
So so the idea here is that the state we're in, the state that the body's in, of course, if it's like an auto accident, you immediately go into a very receptive, almost the suggestive state, almost like hypnosis. And then whatever's happening
Because the
gets
shock, right?
exactly the shock opens your mind. As a matter of fact, this is how we're being manipulated on social media and on TV. What they do is they confuse you, and when you're confused, your mind opens up and they implant things because
Oh.
because they can bypass your discriminatory ability.
Uh-huh. You're like taken off guard for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting off track a little bit, but oops. So I get excited and I start pushing buttons.
Happens to the best of us.
So in other words, what we're trying to do in psychotherapy, which what I do, and in body work, is we're trying to access that state
Mm-hmm.
because that memory is state dependent.
Right.
And so if I'm working with somebody and I say, when you get angry at your husband, how does that, relate to what happened to you as a child? I'm trying to take them back into that same state so they can make the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that in essence what you're doing?
Putting their body back in the same state? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Well, let
But,
me.
I don't know, people bring up all kinds of different stories when they're in that state that they're thinking about it in a deep state, but I don't think that situation happened while they were in a deep state.
Oh, I understand. But there's something. Oh, well, let me put. Maybe I've got a slide here. The disassociation from the state means the memory is only implicit
The memory is only from the body.
from the body. It's
Yeah, I would say that I've gotten memories from my body that I was either too young or
right.
even like something wild, like they really seem like they're from somebody else's life, not my life.
So so what happens is this circuit breaker trips, and the information that is contained in the trauma, and the state of our body, the state of our emotions, and everything is stored. But the memory of it is implicit, which means it's stored in the body. It's not stored in the conscious mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and I recognize like this stuff can get a bit ethereal, so,
Yeah.
thanks for being patient. Like I'll tie some things together even though I'll admit I have no way to scientifically prove some of them. But like one time in a class, um and this argument is to say yes, I think it does hold implicit memory and not even just ours. So there was a demo in a class, and the woman who was getting worked on stated that she got into this trance where she was talking about a time someone had abused her, and at one point in the middle of this abuse, it was as though she had realized his primary reason for doing that was fear, and fear related around an odd thing like his dad or something. And who knows if it was true or not, but her becoming aware of that allowed her body to release, and her hips were able to completely let go after that, after having like a decade of work done from this experience. So, after this experience. So, it's interesting because why would she have his memories? Who knows? But if everything really is just energy, who's to say we can't give a transference of a story? How simple is regular videotape, and our tissue is so much more complex than that. Like, certainly we can hold some file waves that bring up a memory, and maybe that's a scientific way to explain what exactly is being held in our tissue and our fascia.
Well, I appreciate what you said, but some of this stuff I'm presenting right now is based on research.
Oh, I can tell what you're saying is.
Yeah, so what you're saying is can be documented, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take another look here at something.
Yeah.
So when we say disassociating, we mean checking out. And a lot of people will say, "Why didn't I remember?" And the reason they didn't remember
Mm-hmm.
is because their body flipped the switch to protect them and
Mm-hmm.
allowed them to disassociate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if anybody's heard this term. It's called polyvagal disassociation.
Okay.
I didn't know if you'd run across that in craniosacral therapy.
I'm I'm starting to learn a little bit more about like polyvagal theory, but very new.
Right. It is new and it's a little controversial.
But it
So,
seems to be garnishing some really good results, and my niece uses it in therapy on some of her clients, and it's been going really well.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so this that talks about that whole beginning section talks about how the body stores trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Now we talk about retrieval. And you're going to find at the very end why retrieval is important. And by retrieval, I don't mean reliving. I mean retrieving the state and the memory of what happened in the present moment.
Retrieving the state and memory of what happened in that present moment. Okay, so you're kind of like escorting them back to that time that Matt was significant to them.
I'm kind a way I totally agree with that. The way I describe it to normal people is just connecting the dots.
Yeah, okay.
Let me get a drink of water here. So, in other words, I mean, you can imagine somebody who's had struggling with a problem, and all of a sudden they suddenly realize what it's connected to.
Right.
That's retrieval.
Okay. Ah, your aha moment.
Your aha moment. And honestly, I'm sure you've experienced this, Christina, but in my practice, I find that growth comes in jumps and leaps and realizations, and it's not a linear thing at all.
Right. And sometimes you work months for a tiny piece of information that's useful to you, and sometimes you get loads in one day.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know, it's part of learning how to dance with life.
What an illusion. What a lovely illusion. Okay.
I think it is.
I think it is too. All right. Laboratory studies confirm that memories are better recalled in the same emotional physiological state in which they were encoded.
Okay.
So,
I've heard about that for studying too.
uh-huh.
Like you should be studying in the same state you'll be in when you're testing,
Right.
same time of day or whatever.
So the trick is not necessarily to get them in the same emotional state, but it's to access that emotional state. I don't know if that's a distinction without a meaning, but to me it is. They're two different things. Accessing the state and reliving the state are different.
Right. Yeah. And in like dialoguing probably on the table, tell me if I'm understanding you right. But maybe it would be instead of them reliving the scene in their mind, it's them seeing the scene on a TV in their mind.
Right. Or just accessing the trigger that triggers the state.
Mm-hmm.
So in psychotherapy, in my work, the trigger that triggers the state is an emotion.
Okay.
In your work, I'm speculating here, but tell me if I'm wrong, the
Okay.
trigger is finding the part of the body that is the access point, that is the trigger that takes them into that information that's stored in their body.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can definitely come to that. And those might be called energy cysts.
Uh-huh.
Those might also, like the nerves will kind of like buzz or lead you to the next place you need to go.
Okay.
And so you're just following the cues that you learn to follow nerves with. And then, yeah, like sometimes it is like something magnetic almost pulls you or pulls your attention or pulls your eyes or pulls your hands just to a one specific spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's really fun for me because then that's like half the time when they go, how did you know it was right there?
Right.
It's like, I didn't. Your
So let me
body
ask you
showed
a
me.
question that I thought of asking you before, and I want to make sure I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
So if you're working on somebody
Mm-hmm.
and their shoulders are tight.
Yeah.
And when you work on their shoulders, this memory comes up, and all of a sudden, they see what's happening.
Yeah.
Would you say that the memory is stored in the shoulders, or the shoulder is a trigger to access the memory? Which way would you interpret that?
I actually think, yeah, your muscles will tighten, but I think it's your fascia more than anything. I think your fascia squeezes you like you're a little sausage
Okay,
inside of
but
its case.
but my okay, so is the point of the fascia, that location, is that where it's stored, or is that simply the trigger that allows the conscious mind to access emotional physiological state.
I think that it is stored there, but it's definitely at least a trigger.
Okay.
Um, but it does seem like when I'm holding like, a body part, I'll like sandwich hold shoulders or things like that, while they're laying on the table. And while they're talking about whatever it is that's bothering them, or coming up to them right then, like I'll feel almost like this amorphous, like woo, woo, globule feeling releasing in their shoulder. And I think it's their fascia just like loosening up all their tissues, and we're feeling like the next point of tension loosen up after another. So that's why it's that crazy feeling. But I think that's when, whatever it is that's stored in the fascia gets pulled up and out, and it's no longer stored in your fascia for as well as you've processed through it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's still there because it wants to give you a lesson, and sometimes it's still there because it thinks it needs to protect you. And what's interesting about a lot of these is them just becoming aware of it being there at all sometimes is enough for it to start to let go.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it makes them have to start to negotiate with themselves. Like, forgiveness is a really big one. Forgiveness and headaches is a really big one.
Okay.
And so when you have to ask, like, oh, is it worth holding this grudge against someone so much so that I get headaches anyway? That can like kind of make you start to reconsider, like, why am I not forgiving so much?
Right.
If it's going to hurt me at this point, like, what am I getting out of this?
So, what are some other, just very quickly, what are some other common areas that you find that are tied to specific locations? Some issues that are tied to specific locations.
So, like, the feeling of defensiveness is held in like triceps and inner leg.
Really?
And I
Wow.
kind of think of it as like they're the muscles you use to push someone away.
Oh.
They're the muscles for the legs that you would use to keep your knees together. You're not getting in, those kinds of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the spine has to do with support. Maybe you're not getting enough support now. Maybe you weren't getting enough support one time. Maybe you want to do more processing about that. Um, Neck flexibility is about how many options do you see, and like if you tend to ignore options, valid options to solve a problem, then your neck will be tight.
So I'm getting a completely different idea listening to you. It's not so
Mm-hmm.
much that the body spot is a trigger or that's where it's stored. It's almost like the body becomes a metaphor for the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I can, and I have before. Some clients have said, I dare you do it. Like, I can work on your body and tell you probably what your biggest hang up is.
Interesting. That's
What
very interesting.
relationship is your biggest hang up? Because
Right.
female tend to be represented on the left side, male tend to be represented on the right.
Which is
And you are
bilateral.
included, yeah, you are included in your gender's side.
Interesting.
So, I could have a hurt left shoulder, and that could be, shoulders can have to do with responsibility or burden. And it could be that I feel some burden or responsibility for some important female relationship in my life,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and like especially with like what you're saying, Mark, like when you talk to your non-conscious mind, what does this have to do with my childhood when
Mm-hmm.
you have an event that's triggering? I mean, they're really good tools to use together. Like, oh wow, I noticed my shoulders hurt. Hey, non-conscious, am I bothered right now because of a sense of burden?
Right.
And it's easy to get yes, no answers that you can feel a little more confident in as you're building, your skill of listening to your non-conscious mind.
Great. So what the way I view this is the spot on the body is like a kinesthetic anchor,
Mm-hmm.
where, like a trigger. So if I push a specific point, it's going to access something. But I think what I'm hearing from you is it's more than that. It's a it's a complex symbolic representation of the problem.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like your body wants to bear that with your mind, your body, or whatever, with your brain, I guess. Your body wants to bear that for your brain or
Okay.
your emotional state. It's like they want to be there for each other.
Okay.
They want it to be a partnership. And so if you can kind of think about it that way, like, oh, wow, shoulder, thank you for holding this burden for me all this time. You worked so well for me, even when it hurt,
Right.
that kind of stuff. Like, thank you for doing that. Your shoulder will love that. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
No, that makes
And
perfect sense.
yeah, and then, to say, like, hey, I notice you're really tight. Can you help me understand that? And just let it hang in the air. Is there
Wow.
a message you have for me, shoulder? Oh, yeah, I do remember that one time I felt so burdened. Yeah, that was really hard.
Okay.
Hey, I have a thought. How about the next time anything gets scary like that again? I'll just ask for help instead of doing nothing. And your shoulder could be like, oh, really? I don't have to hang on so tight forever? You're like, yeah, I could do that for you.
So that's
You know?
exactly the same question I have my clients ask.
Yeah,
When they feel that anger, I'll say, well, okay, well, what is anger trying to tell you?
yeah.
What's
Mm-hmm.
what's the unspoken message?
Exactly. Yeah, there's all kinds of messengers in our life. If we can learn to listen and learn to talk, we can really help ourselves out.
This goes for both the body and the mind.
Absolutely. They work together. And like, I think there are no wounds that are too old to heal. That is a bold statement, but I used to have chronic migraine issues, and listening to what my neck had to tell me about why I had those issues was the catalyst. It did start my neck releasing, and an issue I've had since childhood no longer plagues me. And I mean, hundreds of days a year I was down. And these principles have made it to where I have less than 5 headaches a year, if any.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So, trauma research shows that implicit body states act as retrieval cues for traumatic memories. Okay,
sure.
I'm getting a better understanding of this. So, let's move to healing, which is what you're talking about right now.
Yeah,
And this is where you and I have discovered that we have a lot in common, and that is that the way I do this and the way you do this, the healing part of it, in your estimation, what is the healing thing? What is the thing that heals? So here you have the trauma that's been stored. Now we've retrieved it. What part of the retrieval process is the healing?
I wonder which part of it is like instinct and just the nature of being an animal, a living organism that can
Uh-huh.
heal, and consciousness would be my
So
guess. What do you think?
I think it's the awareness. I think it's
Okay, so maybe that's what I mean by saying consciousness, but like the witness, there's something deep in us that keeps prompting things.
so, but my point is once it's been revealed, the awareness of what it is the healing. Connecting the dots, the moment
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, right. Like once, let's say we're going back to the shoulder, like being aware that my shoulder feels burden at all
uh-huh,
might be enough for it to go away.
that's right. So
Yeah,
connecting the dots so you got somebody laying on the table and they've got problems in their shoulders and you work on
yeah.
that fascia. And by the way, this is your statement that just came up here.
It seems like my statement. I was like, I agree with that 100%.
So the point is that we have both discovered about the healing process is the awareness is the healing.
Yeah,
So when that trauma, that memory, that body state is revealed finally for what it is,
hmm,
that the awareness of what has been revealed resolve the matter, oftentimes on the spot.
Absolutely. And, I'll tell you in this body work, when you experience the sensations of your nervous system amplified, there aren't words for it because it's such a unique experience and it's
Right.
such a powerful feeling experience that thank God you don't need words for it because there aren't words for some of the things that you feel grab or let go of you, like that have been grabbing you, let go of you,
So
and that profound freedom you feel.
exactly that's it. With what I have discovered, and we'll wrap this up pretty soon, is that when people retrieve the memories, let's say I'm having an argument with my wife, and suddenly I realize this is just about my mother. That in the moment that I connect those dots and I become aware of it, then that resolves the issue.
Hmm. What do you tell her? Hey, can I have a minute? I realize this has nothing to do with you. I'm sorry for this fight.
That's exactly what I do.
Okay,
So
that's good because
awareness,
I need a script too.
the awareness of the emotion can be enough for the healing.
Yeah, yeah.
So people say, okay, so finally I connect this to my mother, I realize the trauma, I retrieve it, the memories, and then what do I do? And then my answer is nothing. Because once the adult brain sees how the child brain has dealt with this and how it's been stored and now it's been retrieved, once it sees that process, that is the healing. The insight itself, the awareness, is the healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'll say one thing. There might be that part of you that pops up in those moments that goes, you don't want to believe that.
Right. It's too simple.
And like, yeah, like not believing the witness your body is giving you is like telling a vulnerable person that their experience didn't happen to them. I know might sound kind of crazy, but like if you whatever you're realizing like some emotion is tied to this spot, you might be tempted to go, "That's crazy. That can't be true."
Mm-hmm.
But like you'll see a difference when you respond to your body as though like that could be true. Oh, that might be true. Will get you to release more than that's not true. If you like argue back with your body's witness, it will not change because it's only doing that for you until you get its message.
Let me just make one more comment that comes in here, and that is sometimes body work and psychotherapy don't completely do the job, and that's where we have another
Right.
tool. And that other
Right.
tool is psychedelics. Because everything we're talking about here, if it's done properly in the proper setting, psychedelics can help access this and resolve it as well. And a lot of research is being
Yeah.
done now on that, with some
Yep.
people resolving trauma in one session.
It's so amazing. And the word parts of psychedelic means brain growing,
Okay.
and like like body work, like craniosacral therapy or myofascial release or Reiki or those kinds of things. They actually do contribute to that work, like listening to tones, solfeggio tones or binaural beats. Like those things do grow your brain too. So like they're actually all psychedelics, which is cool.
Hmm. So here's what we talked about today. We've got these emotional paths and two paths to trauma relief. One is called, one can be thought of as mind's recall, and the other one's body's unlocking.
Mm-hmm.
And it all leads to this emotional release and this insight. And this is kind of where Christine and I, surprisingly, using two completely different approaches, arrive at the same place.
Yeah. Well, and who knows? Maybe that's why we found each other to begin with, is that we were riding the same wave.
I think so. So
Yeah.
if you found this interesting and you want a little help with any of this, just scan the QR code. It'll take you to a form, and also will be a email address in the in the show notes. Drop us a line if we can help in any way, answer any questions. We also, on Thursday evenings at 6:15, we have a live stream where we answer questions. Feel free to
Mm-hmm.
join us. Like and subscribe and click the bell icon so you get the notification of those live streams. We'd love to have you join us.
I want to show a book before we go.
Okay.
This book. Can when you get a sec, can we put it on the big screen?
Right now.
Okay. So The Body Heals Itself. This was a book that really helped me start to learn these principles about like what you keep where by Emily A. Francis. Um, so if you're kind of wanting to look into more of like what are you holding where and why, this could be a nice meditative, helpful resource.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. And, feel free to reach out or leave a comment if you're curious about what body part could mean what. I'm happy to answer too. I love this. It's my special interest. So let's go.
This has been awesome today. So remember,
Thank you,
mastering
Mark.
thought is the key to unlocking your potential.
Until next time, look deeper, live bolder. We'll see you next time.
All right, everybody. Bye bye.